Good morning and welcome to the latest edition of the Business Spotlight interview. Today I am happy to be joined by Tina Calder, Director at Excalibur Press here in Northern Ireland. Tina, delighted you could join us. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. It's a bit dark in here because it's too bright that way, so I've had to close the blinds, but sure, we'll get there. The perils of Zoom.
No problem at all. At least it's bright for one day.
I know. So. Fingers crossed.
Great. Why don't you share with us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for?
Oh, wow. So where do I start? I'm Tina Calder. I own Excalibur Press. We are a multidisciplinary media and marketing company. So I hate to say it, but essentially we're a one-stop shop because we've brought all of the expertise together to allow businesses to not have to wrangle with 2, 3, 4 third-party agencies and things like that. So it just makes people's life a lot easier, whether it's PR and marketing, whether it's digital marketing, social media, or whether it's sort of more high-level strategy stuff and things like that. So we do an awful lot. We also develop websites and whatnot in between, and then we have partners in things like Google Ads, Meta Ads, social ads essentially. We have a designer that we work with, videographers and stuff. So it just means that it's like it's a one place. It's almost like having a marketing function within your business, because you only really have to deal with 1 or 2 people and you don't have to figure it all out. So that's what we do. I opened Excalibur in maybe 7 years ago about, and so we've been going, but my past is in journalism. I started off as a journalist for showbiz and entertainment for about 18 years or so, and then I took a career break, took over a bar, don't know why, did it, lost all my money, went bankrupt, and then came back to the industry. Previous to that, I'd had an agency. I'd had a news and media agency, so we sold showbiz content across the world to all the major tabloids and magazines and things like that. And then when I came back, we pivoted into a B2B space, and that's where we are today.
Fantastic. What a journey. And obviously we're in Northern Ireland, part of the UK here, and lots of people think that failure is like the end of the world and a bad thing. Whereas if you go to somewhere like the States, you have to fail 2 or 3 or 4 times before anybody gets behind you to say yes, you're a success now. So brilliant bounce back. Great to see that this business is thriving. And I guess then, what has been your biggest learning since being a business owner?
I think there's so many learnings that I've kind of got along the way of being a business owner. I think if I look back to business owner Tina in her 20s, like, she hadn't a clue, like literally just did not have a clue. But the problem with that was I was a little bit arrogant in my 20s as well. I thought I kind of knew everything. Yeah. I thought because I was outwardly confident, I thought because I was very quick, and I understood why that was at a later date. But what happened was I never really sat down and understood business strategy and understood, I suppose, the inner workings of cash flow and stuff like that. Something I am still to this day grappling with. Numbers have never been my strong point. But what I would say is imposter syndrome was the big thing that held me back back then. Yeah. So whilst outwardly I was coming across as incredibly confident and, I thought I knew it all, I came across like I did, but deep down I was beating myself up on a regular basis. When an editor rang me, I panicked. I used to be like, why are they ringing me? What do they want? Yes, yeah. And automatically it was that feeling of going to the principal's office for many, many years. And it's something that I have continued to battle with, and thankfully I'm now winning the war. But I think that the biggest learnings are you cannot have enough mentors, enough advisors, and enough peers in the industry, to be honest with. I think back then I was too afraid of saying I'm struggling. I was too afraid of saying I don't know what I'm doing. I'm winging this. I need help. Like, what do you do? How do you do it? What do I do next? And I never really learned the art of prospecting, and so I just sort of bumbled from one thing to the next in the hope that it would work. And I think now I'm surrounded by a wonderful network of really strong, really supportive peers that I can lean on, and I can say, God, things were bad this week, or oh, my head's done in, or oh my goodness, this client is wrecking my brain. What would you do?
Yeah,
Whereas back then I struggled internally with that all of the time. So I think that if one thing I would say is let people in and let them understand your journey and let them help,
yeah.
because honestly, it revolutionizes your business journey, really.
Tina, that's a great share, and it's something that I've seen over the last years. There's been this sort of shift from you don't want to ask for help to people are now much more willing to share, ask for help, mentor, network. And I guess that's part of what Business Spotlight is about as well, is having lots of business owners, entrepreneurs like yourself, sharing on this media, and that allows other ones to gain some knowledge, gain some insight, get some wisdom from your experience. But it also allows a wee bit of online networking as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So who's your ideal customer, if there is such a thing?
An ideal customer. So my ideal customer and my staff's ideal customer are two totally different things.
Yeah.
So the stuff that I love doing is the stuff that my staff just go, no, don't bring that to my door. And I get it, because I don't know if you know, but I was diagnosed with ADHD back in October last year.
Okay.
And I now understand that a lot of what I love in business comes from that. What I've done is I've sort of carved and crafted this niche around me. So I love clients who are in crisis. I love clients who are swimming in an untangled mess and they're not quite sure what to do with it. They're not quite sure how to structure the business or how to structure their marketing, or even where to go, how to monetize, what to do next. I love it when people come to me to help them manage their crisis comms and manage those scenarios where they're maybe having a little bit of internal problems and they need some communication and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I love people who are stepping into the thought leadership world. Now, that's me personally. The business, I think for us, our ideal clients are those who need the one-stop shop. And the reason for that is it allows us to give them really a wraparound holistic service. So we almost become part of your extended team. We become one of you. Whereas the clients that we're doing project by project basis, it's really difficult for us to deep dive into the minutiae of your business when we've maybe only got a month to deliver a project or something like that. So for us, it's the long-term project. But we also have a very unique thing at Excalibur Press. We call it the turn on, turn off, scale up, scale down. And what that means is we never hold a client in retainer. Now, we have lots of retainers. We have lots of clients who are in retainers, but they're never in a contract. And so with 30 days notice, they can pause, turn off, cancel, whatever. And with 24 hours notice, they can increase or scale up. And the reason for that is we understand that business moves very fluidly these days.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've had some businesses who are seasonal businesses. So they'll come, like for Christmas, for example, they'll arrive in September, they'll disappear in January, and we'll maybe get them back again at a later date. And then we have other businesses who are very small micro businesses, and they just don't have the money to do it all the time. So what we do is we do like 3-month boosts for them. So we maybe do the start of the year, we'll maybe do September, October, November, or something along those lines. And then we have other businesses who, like most businesses, enter and exit from cash flow problems. And so what they'll do is they'll ring me up and they'll just say, Tina, can I pause for a month? I need to, I have a VAT bill due, or, we need to get something fixed, or I've just brought a new staff member in, or whatever that thing might be. And so it gives them that flexibility to just relax into their marketing, because I know that there's an awful lot of businesses out there who've had really terrible experiences and really stressful experiences with those contracts that they didn't understand what it involved. They didn't understand the time and the resources that they needed to put in to make it work. And so you end up in this weird scenario where they awkwardly try to sack their marketing team because it wasn't working for them, instead of just having a conversation. So we've removed all of that from the whole process. And the idea being is we grow with you, we'll work with you. We have a business model where we can scale up and down very quickly through our freelance pool and through our part-time contractors and things like that. So I think that from my point of view, and our ideal client is the one that wants to go on a journey with us. And whether that's like a couple of £100 here and there, or whether
Yeah.
that's a few £1,000 a month, it doesn't really matter. It helps us to deliver better.
Yeah, that what you're describing there sounds like a very attractive offering. It's as you said, business now is much more fluid rather than this sort of rigid contract and retainer scenario. So that's very interesting. And what's been some of the biggest issues, or maybe just a single biggest issue that you've overcome in business?
My goodness, we don't have a long enough time for that. So
let's just pick one.
So apart from going bankrupt and liquidating and all of that in the past, so I mean, like any business owner, like any entrepreneur, I've had to try things, fail at them, and sort of sheepishly come back again. I think in recent years, our two biggest challenges was obviously COVID. That was huge for us. At that time, our primary income came from hospitality, tourism, events, festivals, that kind of thing. So we had to pivot really, really quickly at that point. Now, we're very lucky we were able to pivot. We had already some clients in manufacturing, in business to business, in other areas. And so we've brought back some of that stuff that we used to do, but we've also opened the door to others. I think, though, COVID, whilst it was absolutely devastating to a lot of businesses, and we were on the upward trajectory, I think our biggest challenge has been the fire in our building. So in October last year, our building burned down through arson. And we lost 4 offices. Now, we were very lucky that we were cloud-based, so my team was able to start up from home. Of course, we were scrambling around, as you do. So that we did actually finished last year's accounts off in deficit, and we will probably do the same this year due to, I suppose, there's just a number of things: the loss of equipment, the loss of some business around that time, just the recovery process and things like that. So we had been on quite a quick upward trajectory that then went slightly down, but we're back on it again. And I think resilience is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, especially if they don't have a great support network at home or around them. I am so lucky that my partner can see it a mile away when something bad's going down, or when I'm having a bad day. My son's only 10 and he knows when to give me a hug. But those things are really important. But in order to get those things, you've got to communicate. You've got to say, oh, it's a bad week, or my cash flow's up the left, or but one of my staff's being a nightmare, which I am lucky none of my staff are ever a nightmare. It's great. Touch wood, she says. But having that support network and then having those professional peers has really helped me to get over those challenges. And having someone like Carly, who is my best friend and my office manager, by my side, pulling me back down when I get to the edge, it always helps. So I can't stress enough that resilience is the one thing that I think we aren't teaching enough of. But the only way to get resilience is to fail, or to make mistakes, or to get that experience out in the world. So a lot of business owners don't learn resilience until the crisis arrives.
Yes, yeah. No, great point. One wonderful sharing. Didn't know about the fire and the arson. So
if you Google it was everywhere.
glad that's in the past, and that gradually you'll be back on that trajectory, back up again.
Absolutely. And we're very lucky. We've just been accepted into Invest NI's Ambition to Grow program. We're working with Southeastern Regional College on an innovative tech project and things like that. So we're very lucky that we are moving forward. But as I say, like most businesses, COVID hit, and then the universe decided, I know, you need another crisis.
Yeah, well, sometimes a fire can be the end of a business, no questions asked. So to keep on going, you've done exceptionally well. So credit to you there.
I think we were very lucky in that our staff were incredible. Like, they really were incredible. They stepped up immediately from the day of the fire onwards. They cushioned when I wasn't available. They were able to step into roles that they maybe didn't, weren't ready for, or whatever. And so I don't think that we could have survived it without my personal support network and also the support network in the business.
Superb. Now, it's again, and throughout this conversation, we have highlighted the need for that support network. So, so crucial these days. So, what has been the most surprising aspect of owning a business?
Oh, the most surprising. I think I think I will always be surprised when people come back with such gratitude, you know, because for me, we put everything into it. I am totally incapable of not getting emotionally attached to every single last project. And so many mentors over the years have gone, you need to rein that in. But I think it's part of our magic. I think because we care, because we get upset when something goes wrong, because we get so you know, crazy about our clients. But I think when they take the time out to say, wow, that really made a difference. Like one client a few years ago, we rescued a project for them that somebody else had messed up in some way, shape, or form. And they sent me a superhero cape in the post, and I was just like, number one, they had to go and look for it, they had to buy it, they had to post it, you know, there was a lot of things they had to do to show that gratitude, and it was so sweet. I think we've had clients who've just burst into tears when we've showed them a trick of the trade or something. Because we've just changed how they look at things. And then we've had clients who have just randomly dropped us a little note they just wanted to say. And I think every time that happens, I go, what? Oh my goodness. You know, because I'm almost taking what we do for granted. I'm taking that our method is like everybody else. And I'm learning that actually, because we are empathetic, because we are compassionate, and because we sit down and go, whoa, hold on. Okay. We can't do that right now, but we'll do it now. We'll figure it out. And so rather than go, no, your contract states that you have to get this and that's all we're doing, we're like, no, calm down, chill out. You don't freak out. We'll fix it. And I think that's what makes us special. But I keep getting surprised by it, and I shouldn't, because it's the culture we've created. It's the expectation of our staff. But I think we do still get surprised, and we love them. So don't stop sending us them.
No, so that's fantastic. And if there's anything that business can always do with more of, it's that compassion and empathy. You know, for so many years, business has sort of excluded those two things. It's always been the hard, tough, and you know, but the world is always crying out for compassion and empathy. So that's fantastic that you can have that for your clients. So,
and we're very lucky. Our clients had it for us as well. So around the time of the fire, we had clients going, whoa, don't do our stuff this month. Just do a wee bit extra next month. Or they were like, don't you be worried, or do you want me to pay that bill right now? You know, we had people who showed us unbelievable compassion, empathy, understanding. And I mean, I don't think the business would still be here today if it wasn't for all of those people around us.
Fantastic. That's great. So on that then, who inspires you today in business? And maybe it's some of those folks that you've just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I love Simon Sinek, and I love a lot of the things that he talks about, and I really do look up to his way of leadership. I love how he articulates the importance of the why in a business and all of that. So I suppose from a professional point of view, that's the person that I kind of look right up there to. And you know, if he ever came to Belfast, I'd probably be a bit of a stalker. But I know other people, you know, would sort of look up to the likes of Tony Robbins or Stephen Bartlett or Gary Vee or all of those, but they're just people with useful information, I think. And I think what I understood was Simon Sinek also has ADHD. So I think I was connecting with him on a completely different level. But when it comes to inspiring me on a daily basis as to what I do, it's the other business owners around me. It's the women who are battling it day and daily to be successful. Like, you know, Christine Watson from Watson's and Co Chartered Marketing, hugely successful in what she does, amazing, a brain like you've no, like you cannot understand. Rachel Doherty from Inspired Business Consultancy, just her energy and her knowledge and her ability to understand our business. You know, people like Michelle Tyson from who's a recruitment specialist. We've got Emma Bricknell, who's a hospitality specialist, and all of those people around me, like even Ruth Young, who my goodness, I have her tortured. I'm on the phone every 5 minutes going, Ruth, can you explain this to me? You know, because her knowledge in social media, technical and advertising and stuff like that is amazing. So all of these women inspire me differently because they support me in a way that I've never seen before, I've never understood before.
Yes,
and I think just watching them be amazing is like, you know, I'm so glad I'm among you women. And I think on a day-to-day basis, I am inspired by my son, Logan. He's 10. He is a wonderful human being, asks all the wrong questions at the right time. And, you know, and I think it's his energy and that really inspires me to keep going. So in those dark days when you're thinking, oh, why don't I just get a job? And then I remember I'm doing this for him. And my staff are amazing. Honestly, I am so lucky. I cannot say this enough. I know that other businesses, had they have come through the challenges we've came through, the staff would have jumped ship. The staff would have panicked and gone somewhere else because things were a bit shaky, or the road was a bit rocky, or the future wasn't quite as clear as we think. And my lot have just stood by me and went, no, we're there. We think we know that you know where we're going. We're just going to hope that we get there, you know. And so that to me is fantastic, inspirational.
That's brilliant, and what a blessing to have such committed staff as well. Fantastic,
very lucky.
What a great team. So you mentioned the future there, and you're the one that knows where you're going. So what does the future look like, and what would you see as the main challenge moving forward?
I think our biggest challenge at the minute is export. So we've fought long and hard to be recognised as an exporter. And it's a difficult industry to be seen as in exporting. But one of the biggest challenges around that is being innovative. And I suppose everyone thinks that being innovative is creating a new platform or doing something technological or whatever. Whereas for me, sometimes it's just about innovative thinking. So for example, our scale up, scale down, turn on, turn off service was an innovative way for us to help the market. It was an innovative way for us to go, what's the problem everybody has? How can we solve that? You know, and so for me, being innovative at all levels of the business is really important. And of course, at a high level, we are working on a tech product at the minute. We don't know whether that will come off. We don't know whether we'll abandon it after a while and go, whew, that was a bit too hard. Or we might successfully do it. But I suppose marrying the innovation and the export together, because Northern Ireland is only a certain size, and we are at the point now where I suppose anybody who wants to use us will have heard of us by now. And we want to learn, and we think if we get outside of Northern Ireland on a much bigger footing, we can bring that knowledge back. We can bring that back to our clients, but we can also help our clients then, you know, connect outside of the country as well. And so fingers crossed, that's the plan.
Fantastic. Well, every success for that going forward. And I guess you've been through all of this journey. You've had all of these experiences. What would you say to anyone thinking of going into business for themselves?
Don't we all say don't do it? That's our first reaction. You know, when you ask an entrepreneur, what would they say to somebody else? But you know what? I think that when you're starting in business, there is a massive risk to be had. Now, some people are very lucky. They've got the cash flow, they've got the investment, or they've got that, I suppose, financial cushion. I didn't. I hadn't 2D to rub together. But even with that comes lots of other risks, you know, risks to your time, your family life, your social circle, your mental health, your physical health, your, you know, even right down to your self-belief, because every knock can take a chunk out of you. And so I think that if you're going to start a business, you have to be there for the whole shebang. You have to be ready for all the good and the bad. And I think as well, a lot of people don't realize that at the beginning of a business, you just have to assume you're not going to have a life. And there are some people are very, very lucky. They just open the business, walk away, and they've got a fantastic manager or whatever. And life is sweet. But that's not everyone, and it's not very usual. So I would say to anyone who's thinking about setting up their own business, if you're in a job now, try to build up a cushion so that financially you're not having a financial conversation every month. The problem is when you start a business and you're working on the basis of a cash flow, a lot of your decision making is based on whether you can pay your mortgage or your rent. And what we really have to do is try to get to the place where that's no longer the conversation, so that you can say, that's okay, but I need to think about strategy. I need to think about the future. I need to think about what will make us better. How do I serve my customers, more holistically? What do I do to be different? But if you're constantly thinking, where's the next piece of cash coming from, you are developing the business, and we all get stuck on that. Now I am number of years down the line, and there are months when I'm like, whoa, that's been a bit nuts, better ring some people, get paid, and that's okay. And I think as well, it's okay to admit that too. Don't, when you're young in business, and when I mean young as in a young business, you tend to don't want to tell people. You tend to don't want to ring up your person and go, could you get that invoice paid? It's just my budget this month depends on it. People are humans. And some people might go, no, it's on a 60-day and there's nothing I can do about that. So what? What I would say is, don't become that person who rings every 2 minutes after the 7 days are up. But it's simple little things like that. But I think if you are going to start your own business, try to get involved in some of the the council programs, the local enterprise agencies, some of the universities and colleges have programs. There's the likes of the Ulster Bank Accelerator, Catalyst, all of those different programs, because you can never get too much support. And if things like coaching, things like mentoring, people like yourself who can help, I suppose, move the business forward, get that business plan going. Because if you're like me, back at the beginning, I was like, business plan, it's just a fairy tale, really. And still to this day, my accountant laughs at me because projections to me are fairy tales. Like, it's just not real. And I can't cope with the not real. But now I understand the reason for the plan, the reason for the strategy, the reason, and so what I did is I called it a roadmap to make myself feel better, because I'd had so many bad experiences with business plans and business strategy. So now I call it a roadmap, and it's essentially a strategy and a plan, but it's about creating your plan of action in a way that fits your business and a way that fits you mentally as well. Because we all think differently, we all learn differently, we all behave differently. Like for me, if you give me something at the last minute, I do it fantastically well. If you give it to me 3 months in advance, you be sure I'm doing it on the last week anyway. So it's just simple little things like that. Understand your way of working and making sure that you build the business around that, but also making sure that your long-term strategy is that if you're not available, the business can still operate without you. And I'm still getting there. It's still, still crawling towards that.
That's where we love helping, getting people to. Good. That's fantastic. Again, fantastic advice, fantastic sharing, and great nuggets of wisdom in there. So if we could take the clock, wind it back to when you were 18, what's the best piece of advice you would give to that 18-year-old Tina?
Not allowed to curse on this, so screw them all. No, honestly, I think when I look at 18-year-old Tina, who was already entrepreneurial, like by the time I was 18, I was using my mum's printer, my mum's laminator, and my mum's what do you call it, paper, and I was making business cards for taxi drivers because I was working in a taxi firm. But I think back then, I think it was really around a personal thing for me. I think back then I as I said, I've always come across as if I'm confident, but I definitely wasn't behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
wish I could have just said to 18-year-old me, you should read up on ADHD. You should read up on rejection sensitivity dysphoria. You should read up on imposter syndrome. I didn't know what any of these things were, so I never knew to look at them. I never knew to try and understand them. I always couldn't understand why I thought differently. And it used to really stress me out. I was like, why can't they see this? Or why can't they? And it's not that I was more intelligent. It's not that I was clever or anything like that. It was just that my brain connected things differently, and sometimes connected them a little bit quicker than other people. So I would spend a lot of time frustrated. But on the flip side of that, I spent an awful lot of time beating myself up because I couldn't do basic things, like remembering to bring my swimming kit home from school. I don't know why, but this was like somebody asked me to climb Cave Hill twice a day. It just was impossible for me. But now I understand how the ADHD works. I understand what executive dysfunction is. And I think if 18-year-old me had have understood all of that, she would have flown. She would have flown. By the time she was like 30, she'd have this business and have had it sorted. You know, wouldn't still be figuring it out at 44.
Yeah. No, fantastic. And it's so pertinent today when we see so many of these neurodivergent diagnosis happening at adult stage and much later on in life, rather than when they were young and could have benefited from that, like you said. So great sharing.
ADHD in women wasn't really talked about in girls until about 1993, early 90s. And it wasn't until 2003 that they actually did any studies on ADHD in women. So whilst the first month or two I was really angry when I got diagnosed, I was like, why did nobody say it? Because a lot of people, I said to them, and I thought you knew. I thought, did you already tell me this? I was like, no, I did not know. And I think looking back, I have come to terms with the fact that nobody really knew anyway. They didn't know what to look for in women. Girls are so good at masking it. We're so good at hiding it. And I suppose, thankfully, I came to terms with that. Otherwise, I'd still be moaning and gurning about
it. No, fantastic and brilliant journey. Wonderful to hear your story, and really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and sharing with us today, Tina.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Thank you.